Welcome to Loto Studio. I am your host, Jason Church. The last few weeks we've been talking a lot about lighting, and I've talked a little bit about phrases like key light, fill light, and rim light. But what do those terms really mean? I once had a news anchor turned television host that told me that I was one of the best lighting technicians she'd ever worked with. Over the years, I've been asked, what is it that makes me so good with lighting? And it's not that I'm that great with lighting, but what I like to tell people when I'm teaching them how to light is that I'm not a lighting technician. I'm a shadow technician. Now let me explain to you what I mean. Most people think that lighting is all about where the lighting falls, and that's mostly true. But what helped me to get a handle on how to light things was to stop focusing on where the light goes and start focusing on where the shadows are. I'm going to use that example to help show you what I mean when I say key light, fill light, and rim light, or hair light, you may hear it called. I'm going to relight this scene one light at a time so that you can see piece by piece what they do. In this particular setup, I'm not so much using fill as I am more to keys, really. Because as you can see, there are no shadows on my face, except when I put my hands in front of it, then there's plenty of shadow. But the idea is, depending on the mood that you want to set in your video, you can use lighting and shadows to build that feeling. Alright, so we have turned on the first light. This is our key light. You'll notice that this side of my face is really well lit, but there's a lot of shadow on this side. That's where I was telling you earlier that the way I see myself is as a shadow technician. I'm not so concerned about where the light falls, I'm concerned about where the shadow is. This sort of look is excellent for film noir, or just something very serious, but not much else. So you're going to want a fill light. So let's turn that on so you can see what that looks like. Alright, now ordinarily this light would be called the fill light, but since I'm lighting my face evenly instead of just trying to fill in some of the shadows on this side, it's almost like using two key lights really. But you can see how it evens out the lighting on my face. Alright, so right now I look fairly evenly lit, but the problem is I blend into this black background. So we need a way to separate ourselves from the background. That's where we use the rim light or hair light. And what it'll do is it'll light the top of my head and probably also light my shoulders. So let's turn that on right now so you can see what that looks like. Alright, now we have the final light on, the rim light. And if you'll notice, it is lighting my head, it's also lighting my shoulders some, and helping me to stand out from my background. Now you've seen what I mean when I say key light, fill light, and hair or rim light, and what they do. This is what's known as a three-point lighting setup. You're not going to always need or want a three-point light setup, but in most situations, when you've got a camera set up and you're just pointing it at a subject, particularly yourself, and you want it to be lit well, that's the type of lighting setup usually you're going to want to use. There are times when a three-point lighting setup is just not going to be feasible. And in those moments, you're going to want to look at your surroundings and decide how best to use the light. As I mentioned in last week's episode, you can use light from a window. But if you don't have a three-point lighting setup, instead of using the window from the side as a fill over here and bouncing light here, what you may want to do instead is put the window here in front of you to light all of you, and then something behind you just to separate you from the background, like the hair light that we talked about earlier. That's just some ideas on how this works, but I felt like because I hadn't really broken down and unpacked three-point lighting, that maybe I had jumped the gun in showing you guys some of those three-point lighting setups. When I was a beginner, I had no idea what the terms key light, fill light, rim light meant. So I just felt like I should probably explain that and show you in more detail how to do that. Then if you go back and look at the previous videos, they'll make more sense when I tell you how I used those particular setups. In the coming weeks, we're going to move away from lighting. We're going to start looking at some editing, some shot composition, how to get more of a cinematic effect in the way that you shoot your footage. We're going to work on different styles of shooting, vlog style, cinematic style, documentary style. We'll work on a variety of different styles of shooting to give you an idea of how you can do it. Also, I need your ideas. What do you want to see? Send me a comment below or send me a response video, something just to give me an idea of what you guys would like to see me teach, what questions you have that I can possibly answer for you. If you happen to ask a question I'm not 100% sure of, I will consult somebody that's better than me to get you an answer. I will do my very best to get you an answer quickly. So ask me your questions and let me know what you'd like to see. What kind of studio can you build for low to no dough? Come with me and let's find out.